I'm
I
watching.
don't know. I had to buzz him in, so you didn't do your job.
I did. You only buzzed him in because I beat you to it, but you didn't know I beat you to it. He doesn't know what to pull the door.
Hey, I'm an imbecile. Don't worry about it.
Hey, he didn't call you an imbecile. He called you an idiot. It's different.
He didn't pull the door, and they're waiting for the door to open for him too. All I do is unlock it for him.
Oh man, definitely gonna need all this alcohol.
You know, they stand there waiting for the door to open.
It used to click. It used to make a noise.
Right,
or
you know,
It
something.
doesn't
I'm
make
actually,
any noise.
I know, it's hard to know.
Actually, I am watching the door and I'm clicking it. I can watch you guys walk in from the parking lot.
Oh, creepy.
So I probably already have the door.
Right.
It takes a few seconds for the door to just to go out to the internet and come back to the door. I notice your impatient postures when it starts to open.
Well, we want to get to Minyan. It's the most important thing. In spite of my bites, I'm here.
You know, you're an embarrassment. You're an embarrassment. I can't take you anywhere.
I know. I tried so hard these 3 years to not be an embarrassment, but nothing yet.
All these guys' problems, but they're going to get.
They're about to get. I was going to say they're going to get one more. Can't wait. Still got 30 seconds. All right. Is nobody up there? Okay, good. Good with you. I was like, everybody's here. Nice to meet you. You know. Something. And I printed out enough sheets and everything. Oh, and it's time. Here we go. Boker Tov. Good morning, everybody. We're going to get started this nice morning on page 6 with Birchot Shachar. Blessings for a brand new day. We ask that if you're able, you please rise. Page 6. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan l'sechli ben ha'lachim u'ben ha'am. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher asani b'tzalmo. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher asani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher asani ben chorim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam bisharuhim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokeh kefufim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam nukar etzal hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asal l'kol tzarkim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ha'mechim mitzadei gaber. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir se'bikura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir se'b'tir para. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam natan li'ayif koha. Baruch atah Adonai. Ufnein halayom l'cholayom l'chanu chasador achani beinek b'nei cholayim v'tik malenu chasadim tovim. Baruch atah Adonai gomel chasadim tovim le'amo Yisrael. You may be seated, page 7. Yehi ratzon yinafaneh Adonai Elohai. Ashrein humatov keinu manayim go'alenu me'yafal yerushateinu asher nishanachim asher mimarivim erev havoker v'omrim hamayim bechol yom Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Kadesh Chinkna Maktishay Shemech Kadesh Chinkna B'Olemecha B'Yishuat Atarim Etag V'Yakarneinu Baruch Atah Adonai Mekadesh Chinkna B'Ravim Atav Adonai Elohim. Choose your rabbinic text to study between pages 9 and 12. Yisrael. יהי חצות מלפניך אדוני אלוהינו אלוהי אבותינו, שתיתן חוקים בתורתך, בני אבי תמיד אהרון הכהן, אוהב שלום ורודף שלום, אוהב את הבריות ומקורבן לתורה. Page 14, Psalm 30. He's more sure, Hanukkah, Life is a feed. הפכת מספירי למחולי ודעת שחי ודעת וניסימך למען יזמך פה ולא ידום אדוני אלוהי לעבודך. Please rise for Baruch Shemar, page 16. Baruch Shemar v'yam olam Baruch Shemar Baruch Shemar יחליט חיול עמי מלך משובח ולשמו הגדול ברוך אתה אדוני מלך מעולם ותשמחות. You may be seated. 17. Oh, to the dawn, I hear Mishmah. Yikod Rayam Himelihim Adonai Shemai Masa Otehata Befana Ramim Ramim Adonai Elohim V'Yishlach L'Dar Kodsho Ki Kadosh Adonai Elohim V'Horach L'Michotei Avo. 19. Adonai tzvot asher lo b'teach bach, Adonai Yoshia melech yadeinu v'gam koreinu, Shia et hamecha v'baruch anachatecha. ואני לחסדך ובטחתי ידי בישועתך, אשר לאדוני כי גמל עלי מזמון את
He's marvelous Adari, Adonai Kol Haaretz, Yivdu, my Simcha.
שמו כי טוב אדוני לעולם חסדו, וטובתו אמונתו, יהי כבוד אדוני לעולם ישמח. והורך כל מחכה במלא ישכין, ובא שיבוך במלא ירקח ובצר, אדוני יושיע מלך ידינו וגם קוראינו. 21, אשרי יושבי
Pray Amen.
עם שככה לו, אשרי עם שאדוני אלוהיו, תהילה דוד.
תהילת הלילה פרפיפילר כל בשר שם כל שולם בהר ואנחנו נברך ימין תמידות הללויה 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 22. Adonai shomeret kerim yatom he'anayel ve'ederech
רשעים יעשה לעולם ויחיה
Hallelujah. 23. Nagi Rabbi Yaakov, who Kalim Shpatav Israel, Asafan Lachol Goy, Mishpatim Mayra, Hallelujah, 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 Adonai Min Hashamayim, Hallelujah, Bamromim. Jaya Kim Karen Lam Hosila Lechol Chasida, Hafnim Shalom Krovo, Hallelujah, Hallelujah, Shalom Ashir Chadash, 25. Reisor Malchechem, Zikim Nechmadechem, Mecham Levar Zela, Sofim Mishpat Katuv, Hadar Lechol Chasida, Hallelujah, 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 Bekosho. Hallelu, Hallelu, B'Tzilei Shama. Hallelu, Hallelu, B'Tzilei Shua. Kol Shamayim Hallelujah. Hallelujah, Hallelujah. Kol Shamayim Hallelujah, hallelujah.
Baruch Adonai Lelam. Amen. Amen.
Baruch Adonai Elohim melech Yisrael tzedek kol tavato baruch shem kvodo le'olam v'yimech kol haaretz. Amen ve'amen. Please rise, page 26. Vayavarechna b'idei Adonai. Atah Adonai Elohim Asher b'charta be'Avraham be'yatzei tamar kastim v'sat shema Avraham matzat levaton ne'eman lefanecha v'charati ma'abrit et eretz ha'kanani. Vayam ba'kata lifnei v'ayvu b'zochim b'yabasha v'etrufei mishlachtim mitzvot k'mo even b'mayim u'zim v'yosha Adonai v'yom abu. Page 27. Vayar Yisrael et hayar gula asher asalei mitzrayim vayirav et Adonai vayimin v'Adonai Moshe avdo az yashir Moshe v'nei Yisrael. 3 lines down. Ozi ve'zimarat yah vayehi Yeshua Ozi ve'zimarat Yeshua Ozi ve'zimarat Yeshua Ozi ve'zimarat
Yeshua.
Adonai Hilo Leolam Vaed Adonai Hilo Leolam Vaed Adonai Amlocha Moshe Bagoyim V'Adon Moshe Maritzim L'Shmone Harisav ויצא אדוני המלוכה, ויהיה אדוני למלך בכל הארץ, ויאמר אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. Page 29. ישתבח שמך ליד מלכנו אל המלך. ברכות והודות מייצב עולם, ברוך אתה אדוני המלך גדול ותשבחות, אל הודעות אדון נפלאות, הבוחר בשרי זמרה, מלך אלפי עמים. יתגדל ויתגדל שמי רבה, ועמד זכרה כרתי ומלך מלכותי, בחיי חונם ממך חונם חיי לכל בית ישראל, ועגלה בזמן קריב ימרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעולמי עמים. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויעשה, ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל שמי לקודשם בריחו, ויתהלל בשיר אתה, תשבחתה ונחמתה, לאמירם בעלמא וימרו אמן. ברכו את אדוני המבורך,
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהים מלך העולם יוצר אור וחושך עושה שלום ובורא את הכל. 5 lines down on page 30. המלך הדברים עליך. כולם מלכים, כולם ברוכים, כולם גיבורים וכולם עושים נאמר ירצון קונם, וכולם בולטים מדהים בקדושה וטהרה, בשירה וזמרה מברכים משבחים, ומפארים מעריצים, מקדישים וממליכים, בשם האל המלך הגדול יתברך הנורא קדוש הוא. וכולם מקבלים עליך כמו מלכות שמיים זה מזה, ונותנים רשות זה לזה להקדיש יוצא בנחת רוח ושפה ברמה קדושה, כולם כאחד עונים ואומרים ביראה, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלך הארץ כבודו. ואופנים וחיות הקודש ואשכנזים נשים ומצרפים לעומתם שבתם ואומרים ברוך כבוד אדוני
ממקומו.
ברוך ממלכתנו. אור חדש ציון תהיר ונזכה כולה נמר לאורה ברוך אתה אדוני יוצא העולם ברמה וצפון האלוהים. Page 32. ואבינו לשלום מהווה כאן פותרת וצריכים מארצנו כי אלפו ישועות אתה ולמחרתי מכל מלשון והקרב כאן לשמך יבשר באמת להודות לך את חוקי באהבה ברוך אתה אדוני אבוקי במו ישראל באהבה.
שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך וחיו כדברים האלה אשר אנוכי אצלך היום על דרכך ושינתם לבניך וקרבת בעם ושבתך ביתך ולכתך בדרך ושוכבך ובמונך ושבתם לראות על ידיך והיו לצפות בימיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
Adonai Elohechem Yitziv Lachem B'Kayam Yishai. V'dor v'dor Kayam Shmo Kayam Mechisa Nachal Machotav Manatolan Kayam Mered V'Archaim B'Kayamin. Emet Shabto Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu Malkeinu Melech Avotenu Godinu God Avotenu Yotzreinu Tzur Yeshuatenu Kodinu Matzinu Me'olam Shemecha Ein Elohim Zulatena Ezrat Avotenu Atanu Me'olam. Page 35. Tehillat El Elyon, Baruch U'Barak, Moshe B'nai Yisrael, V'chanu Shira B'simcha Rava V'yamru Kotam, Mi Chamocha B'Yem Adonai, Mi Chamocha B'Yem HaKodesh, Noran Tehillat Oseh Ira Chadash Asher Chugavim L'Shichas V'Tayam, Yachad Kulam Otuvim Nichlu V'Yamiru, Adonai Hilo Olam Aleichem. Please rise. Zor Yisrael, Kuma Bezrat Yisrael, Odei Kerumecha, Yehuda Be'Yisrael, Go Aleinu, Adonai Tzevaot Shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch Atah Adonai, Yisrael. We'll begin the Amidah together on page 36b, continuing through Kedusha on 37, and then silently the rest of the way through our Amidah. Baruch Atah Adonai, Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Yisrael, Elohei Leah, Adel HaGadol, HaGadol VaHaGadol, Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Azochem Chasdei Avot, Omer Yoel, Ibnehem, Hashem Koyam, Melech Ozer Boker, Moshe Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham U'Boker Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'acham Adonai, Mechayim Etim Atah Rabbi Mori Lachav, Mechachel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayim Etim Berachamim Rabbi, Somer B'Tib Rofei Cholim B'Katir Asurim, Mekayim Malachav Ishei ומדומך מלך בחיי ומצמיח ישועה ולמען אתה לחיות מתים ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים נקדש את שמך בעולם בשם שמו קדושים אותו בשמי מרום ככתוב ביד אביך וקרא זה אל זה ויאמר קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלוך כל הארץ כבודו קדוש אדוני צבאות מלוך כל הארץ כבודו לעומתם ברוך יאמרו ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו דברי קודשך כתוב לאמור נמלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור הללויה אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור הללויה לדור ודור נגיד גודך נצח נצחים קדושת תנתיש ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא יבוש לעולם ועד כי המלך הדור וקדוש אתה ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. If you're still praying the Amidah, feel free to continue. Otherwise, we continue a short Talmud beginning on page 62. Please rise for Hatzi Kaddish, page 64. Page 78. Ema karu v'nafalo v'nafnu kamdamini tata Adonai Yashia Melech Yaneinu v'yom koreinu. Page 80. Uvaletzi. והתקדוש ששתי ישראל וקרזל זה ואמר קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות
ולכל הארץ.
ותישא עיני רוח ואשמע מאחורי קורש גדול ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אדוני ימלוך ויפתחו בך ידי שמך כי לא עזבת ראשך אדוני חפץ למען צדקו יגדיל תורה בהדיר. Please rise for Kaddish Olam, page 82. יתקדש ויתקדש שמך
Amen.
במעמדי בחייכון ובמחון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב ימרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם וביום הגלה יתברך ויתרומם וינשא ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו ואתה מכל ברכתה ושירתה ושבחתה ונחמתה דמירם מעלה וימרו אמן. תתקבל צלתון ובלתון דכל ישראל קדם ובן וישמעיה וימרו אמן. יהי שלום הרבה וישמעיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל וימרו אמן. עושה שלום דברומה ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל וימרו אמן. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל ולא עצמנו בגויי הרצון ולא שמענו
משפחות
ולא שמנו כגרם
וגורלנו
כפרמורן אנחנו קוראים ומשת אביב ומודים לפני מלך מלך המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ככתוב בתורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר והיה אדוני מלך על הארץ ביום ההוא ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד Order Scottish, page 84. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah ve'alamad yivra kirutei ve'amlik malchutei v'chayechon u'v'yamechon u'v'chayei v'kol beit Yisrael b'gala u'bizman kariv v'yimeru amen. Yehi shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lalmei יתברך וישתבח ויפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו אלא מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה בנחמתה ואמירם בעלמה ויאמרו אמן. יהי שלום הרב אמין שמעיה
וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל במהרו אמן.
אמן.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום. עלינו ועל כל ישראל במהרו אמן.
Maybe see if you like a song for Wednesdays, the middle at the bottom of page 87. Ayom Yom Ravi'i B'Shabbat. We continue to send our condolences to the families during the Shiva period of Lindsay Demeshki, during the Shloshim periods of Miriam Shlavsky, Margaret Peg O'Neill, Jerry Friedman, Arthur Hartstein, and Dorothy Rebecca Liu, as well as remembering the yard sites this morning of Michael H. Berger, Hannah Mindel Borenstein, Sherry Mendlowitz, and Leanne Sorensen. And if you have additional names to add, feel free to do so at this time. Final Mourner Scottish is found back on page 84. Yitzgada v'yitzgada shemei Rabbah, ve'olamad tivra kirutei ve'amlik malchutei, v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, v'hagala u'bizman kariv ve'imru amen.
אמן.
שמי רבה
והרבה גדולה לעולם לעולם ועד.
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויזרומם וינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמלך קודשה בריחו
ברכו.
אלא מכל גזרתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תאמירם ביומה אמרו אמן.
אמן.
יהי שלום הרב אמין שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל אמרו אמן.
אמן.
עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל אמרו אמן.
Amen. Good morning. Thanks for helping us to make a minyan this morning. If you're not sticking with us, we hope you have a great day. If you are sticking with us, I'm going to be doing my last of Talmud teaching, and we'll be doing a siyum for finishing up Masechet Sanhedrin. So either way, we're wishing you a good day. Actually, even if you're sticking with us, you can still have a good day. I'm just going to take off my tefillin, and then we will start the last part of this Talmud section. So, Boker Tov, good morning, everybody.
בוקר אור.
Sorry I called you an idiot, or the group an idiot. And also, it is going to continue this way. If there's no school, no teachers parked out there, then security cameras, I'll beep you in, that side only. Sundays also, that side only. Not manning both doors.
Remember all this?
No, it's just remember, Bruce.
Tell them about holidays.
You know, there's
Beginning
Sunday,
holidays.
Wednesday's here, right here, it says, think clearly, you simpletons. Be wise.
Does it have all the
Surely
names under
the
there?
one who shapes the ear can hear. Surely the one who forms the eye can see. That was put in here.
Just for us. That's good, I like that.
I'm just letting you know that it will always be, and you just pay attention to whether the teachers are parked out there.
All right.
There's no preschool at all now?
No, next week. They get a week off,
Start
yeah?
back, but if the teachers aren't
Then
there,
it's summer
it's a
day, then
holiday,
it's summer
they're
camp.
coming in.
Yeah, they get a week off. Mostly, I think so everybody can, I
So
don't know.
then it starts again.
People
and
go
I
on
have to do it
vacations.
through the security camera thing. They're not-
When is Sandy's last day?
I don't know. Okay, let's get going. So I brought the end of, I should give you the sheets. And I'm like, why do I have so many of these? This one is especially for you, Bruce. That one was made for you, Joel. I mean, this one definitely printed with you in mind. And Ira, if you want, you can have one.
Thank you, sir.
Give him a hard time. Why not? Till the very end.
So the gift I gave you yesterday or the day before.
You're gonna take it back? I already got it home. Too bad. Yeah, no, I'm going rampant. All right, so hi friends and friends virtually joining us. This is the end part of Sanhedrin. This is the very end. Did we do the whole thing? No, there are parts in between we missed, but we did a great job. We hit a lot of topics over the last year. Just about a whole year, yeah. So, it's 113a. If you're curious what they're talking about, they're still in the subject of who doesn't get olam haba and things like that, who's bad and idolatry, and so they end up in this situation where they're talking more about idolatry. By the way, if you want to follow along, you don't have the sheet, you can go to the Facebook page, click the link, etc. There are two links. The top link is the section. The bottom link is the blessing we'll say when we do a siyum. So that'll come at the end. Okay, so Sanhedrin 113a. The sages taught in a case where there were trees in the city. If they are detached from the ground, they are forbidden and must be burned as the spoils of an idolatrous city. But if they're attached to the ground, they are permitted and they are not destroyed, right? So if you have a city that's idolatrous, the rule is wipe it out, right? The Torah says wipe it out because we don't want their evil idolatry to corrupt our good, pure, non-idolatrous hearts. So we just burn down their city. The question is, do you have to burn down the trees in the city? So if the trees are disconnected from the ground, what might we think? They're using them for idolatrous purposes. They're worshiping this piece of wood or whatever. But if the trees are still connected to the ground, they're probably not using them for anything. Therefore, we don't have to be so suspect. So you don't have to burn the trees if they're connected to the ground. If they're detached from the ground, who knows what nefarious purposes they use that wood for. Yeah, Bruce knows it. But now they have this weird thing that says, by contrast, trees of another city, whether they're connected to the ground or detached, are forbidden. So the question is, wait, they just told us if there were trees in the city, but if they're in another city, that doesn't apply. What could another city mean? So they say, what does another city mean? And Rav Chisda says it's the city of Jericho. As it's written, the city shall be devoted, all that is in it, to the Lord. And Joshua charged them at that time by oath, saying, cursed be the man before the Lord that rises up to build this city Jericho. He shall lay its foundation with his firstborn, and with his youngest son shall he set up the gates of it. See, so it's weird. This city is Jericho. So, and as it turns out, if you're in the city of Jericho and it becomes idolatrous, you have to burn everything, even if it's connected to the ground. You still burn it, right? It's taught in a baraita. This includes a prohibition. You're not allowed to build Jericho, right? We just said if you rise up to build Jericho, you're cursed. So you're not allowed to build Jericho, even if you change its name to the name of another city, right? If you change it to, I don't know, Bensville. And you can't build another city after giving it the name of Jericho. As it's written, Hiel the Bethelite built Jericho with Abiram his firstborn. He laid its foundations, and with his young son Segub set up its gates, right? So you're not allowed to actually build, you're not allowed to change Jericho's name and build on it, and you're not allowed to build a city and change its name to Jericho and build on it. How do they know the second one? It's taught in a baraita. From the death of Abiram, his firstborn, the wicked, it was not incumbent upon him to learn not to build Jericho, as Abiram's death could be attributed to chance. So they say, but how do we know? Just because he died, he could have just died. It's not because he tried to build this Jericho. But with the death of Segub, his young son, it was incumbent upon him to learn it was due to Joshua's curse that they died. So Joshua said, don't mess around with this city named Jericho. Don't try to build a Jericho. Don't try to build on Jericho. And he did. And so his young son died, right? So, and why did his son die? Because he was messing around building the city of Jericho. The city of Jericho has this curse around it. You don't do it, right? Like you just don't do it. So, now they say, what did Abiram and Segub do that they are characterized as wicked? And what is the baraita saying, right? So we said that he's the wicked. Why? What did they do that was wicked? By the way, this is like some weird stuff in the Book of Kings. So if you're into the Book of Kings, you should read it. But otherwise, it's not like the most common stuff we would study. The Gemara answers, what is it? What is the baraita saying? What about them was wicked? They answer, it's saying from the death of Abiram, his firstborn, that wicked man Hiel should have learned about the cause of the death of Segub, his young son. By inference from that which is stated with Abiram, his firstborn, do I not know that Segub was his young son, right? Why does it need to tell us his firstborn, his young son? It's redundant. Rather, what is the meaning when the verse states his young son Segub? It teaches that he gradually buried all of his sons, from his firstborn to his youngest son, Abiram to Segub. He should have figured out that Joshua's curse was causing their death. So as it turns out, the Baraita is saying, this guy just doesn't get the point. You're not supposed to mess with Jericho. God didn't kill all of his sons right away. The curse is there. So as time goes on, he'll kill your children until you get the point. He didn't get the point. It took him all the way from the first child to the last child, and he didn't get the point. He's not so smart about this whole thing, right? So weird. Now they're going to come in with a story that's going to hinge on to the second half of our section. It's funny, they just kind of move this way. Ahab, you know Ahab. Ahab was Hiel's close friend and groomsman, right? He ends up being Jezebel's husband, right? He's a king of Israel. So anyways, he was Hiel's close friend and groomsman. So they're buddies. He and Elijah came to inquire about Hiel's welfare in the house of mourning, right? So Hiel's sad because he's losing children. So Elijah and Ahab show up and they're going to talk to him. So Hiel said, and he said, perhaps when Joshua cursed, this is what he cursed, not to build Jericho even after changing its name to the name of another city, and not to build another city, giving it the name Jericho. And Elijah said, correct, you got it, you figured it out, you're a smart guy, it only took you a few sons, right? So Ahab said to Elijah, now the curse of Moses is not fulfilled. It's written, and you go astray and worship other gods, and it's written, then God's anger will flare against you, and he will close the heavens, and there will be no rain, right? If you worship other gods, God says no rain. But this guy, Hiel, you established an object of idol worship. He's saying about himself, Ahab is. This guy, me, established an object of idol worship on each and every furrow in the kingdom of Israel, right? He brought in idols because of Jezebel, his wife. And the rain is so plentiful, you can't even go outside to worship the idols. Will the curse of his student Joshua be fulfilled? So interesting, right? So Elijah says correct. Hiel's getting the point. He says maybe you shouldn't name a city Jericho or mess with the city Jericho. And Elijah the prophet, Eliyahu says, yes, that's correct. That's what God's saying. Don't do that. And Ahab says, I don't think so. I don't believe that. Why doesn't Ahab believe it? Okay, so Moses is Joshua's teacher, right? So Moses has a curse, and Joshua has a curse. Joshua's curse is what? Don't touch the city of Jericho in any way. What's Moses' curse? Moses is if you worship idols, God closes off the rain. Okay? So Ahab saying, I don't really believe Joshua's curse could be the way that you're saying it is, Elijah, because let's look at Moses' curse, right? Moses is more impressive. And Moses said, no rain if you worship idols. And I personally set up idol worshiping stations all over the place. There's so many people worshiping idols. And look at it rain. It's raining right now. Moses wasn't right. His curse is no good. Do you think his student Joshua's curses will work if Moses' curse doesn't work? And the answer is no, you wouldn't. So Ahab is causing trouble here. He's saying, no, Hiel, don't think that you're losing sons because you messed with Jericho. This is just coincidence. Elijah, of course, disagrees, right? So immediately, Elijah the Tishbite, Eliyahu, who was of the inhabitants of Gilead, said to Ahab, as the Lord God of Israel lives, before whom I stand, there will not be dew or rain these years, but according to my word. So immediately after this happens, apparently, we jump back into the book of Kings. Interesting, right? We were in 1 Kings 16:34. Now we're in 1 Kings 17:1. Elijah immediately says, I'm going to make sure it only rains at the right times. So what does he do? Elijah prays for mercy, and heaven gives him the key to rainfall, so he can determine when it's going to rain. He says, rain, and it rains. California could use this. And then he arose, and he went away, right? So Elijah's mad. Elijah says, you think you're so smart? I'll show you rain, right? So he takes the rain, and he can stop the rain now to prove that Moses' curse is good, okay? And it's written about Elijah, and the word of the Lord came to him, saying, go from here, turn eastward, hide yourself by Wadi Cherith. The ravens brought him bread and meat in the morning. So the Gemara asks, where did they get the bread and meat from? And Rabbi Yehuda says that Rav says they brought it from the slaughterhouse of Ahab, right? So they're stealing from King Ahab. And it's written, and it came to pass after some days, the wadi dried up because there was no rain in the land, right? So Elijah gets mad, and he says, you guys are doing idolatry. And God said no rain, so I'm going to be the guy who turns off the switch. No more rain for you guys, right? So the wadi dries up, there's no rain. And God saw there was suffering in the world, and Elijah's insensitive to it. So it's written, and the word of the Lord came to him, saying, arise, go to Zarephath. And that leads to Elijah giving the key of rain back to God, as we're going to see, right? So Elijah gets a little vindictive on God's side and says, you know what, you guys don't deserve rain because you're doing idol worship. I'm turning it off for good. Well, the land starts to suffer and the people start to suffer, and God doesn't like that so much. So God is like, look, you can't let humans control the rain because they're going to be greedy and selfish and just, even Elijah, the great prophet, is being a little zealous and jealous of other people and being a little unfair. So here's what happened. It's written, it came to pass after these matters that the son of the woman, the mistress of the house, became sick. There's this weird story about this son of this woman. Well, all of a sudden he gets sick, and then he passes away, right? He just dies. Very sad. So Elijah prayed for mercy, for God to give him the key to the resurrection of the dead, right? So Elijah has the key for rainfall. Well, this child dies, and we say, what can you do? So Elijah's praying, please let me have the key to resurrection of the dead. So weird, right? And they said to him from heaven, 3 keys are not typically passed to a person, an agent. The key to a woman in childbirth, right? Only God controls when a woman gives birth. The key to rainfall, only God controls when rain comes down from the heavens. And the key to resurrection of the dead, only God controls if somebody comes back to life after they've been dead. Right? So these are, whether or not we agree that you can do these things now, back in their time, they agreed. They thought like humans don't have much control over these things. These things sort of happen. God is the one in control of them. Okay? So they say, look, these keys are not usually given to a human. You already have the key of rainfall. You also want the key to resurrect the dead. People are going to say what? 2 keys are in the possession of the student, and only 1 key belongs to the master. Who's the student? The student is Elijah. Who's the master? That's God, right? So people are going to say, wow, the student is more powerful than the master. He controls 2 of the 3 keys of the world. That's no good. We can't give you the key to resurrection right now. So you have to give me the key to rainfall, and then you can have the key to resurrection, right? He's not unreasonable. He says you're borrowing it. It's like a library. You can't borrow all the books at once. You need to return books before you can borrow more books. So too with the key, right? You want the key to resurrect the dead? That's fine. Give me back the key to rainfall. Especially because God knows that Elijah's not using the key to rainfall in good ways. So, okay, he's going to give him the key to resurrection of the dead. So, due to Elijah's request, he has to revoke his oath. As it's written, go appear before Ahab and I will give rain, right? So it's a weird statement. How is God going to give rain? Elijah said he was the one who controlled the rain. So the answer the rabbis are giving is Elijah gave up the key for rainfall. He had to. Why did he have to give it up? He had to bring back the child from the dead. And you can't have more than 1 key at a time. Okay, so he has the key to resurrection of the dead now. He gave up the one to rainfall. He doesn't seem to care about the key for childbirth. That's not an issue right now. So, I love this. A certain Galilean taught before Rav Chizda. There's a parable for the actions of Elijah. To what is this matter comparable? It's like a man who slammed his door, like he locks his door, and then he lost his key, right? Have you ever done this before? Can't get into your house? Elijah first prevented rain from falling, and then no longer had possession of the key to enable it to fall again, right? He can't get back in. He kind of sealed his fate in terms of the key of rain. He's not going to get it back anymore. He didn't use it well. He's not getting back in there. He's not going to have access. Too bad, so sad, Elijah. Rabbi Yossi of Tzipori taught, Father Elijah, right? Father Elijah, Eliyahu Navi, was difficult, right? He was difficult. Elijah was used to coming and revealing himself before Rabbi Yossi, this Rabbi Yossi of Tzipori. Every single day, Elijah comes and hangs out with him. He's a very lucky guy, right? When prophets come to hang out with you, you're pretty lucky. So every single day, he used to come there, probably after he's left the world in our way and he's hanging out with God, but who knows? So then he was obscured from him for 3 days and he didn't come. So all of a sudden, Elijah doesn't come for 3 days. He used to come every day. Now he's not coming for 3 days. When Elijah came again, Rabbi Yossi said to him, why didn't you come? And Elijah said to him, you called me difficult, right? Elijah has feelings. He's sensitive. He says, you said I was difficult. And Rabbi Yossi said, this is another example of you being difficult, right? You didn't show up for 3 days. You're a pretty difficult, sensitive guy. I wasn't saying it to be mean. I'm just saying, like, sometimes you get it in your head, you're mad, and then you don't show up. So there you did it again, right? You proved my point, which is just funny. It's just like a funny thing. And then here comes the end. They like to end a Masechtot usually on some big theological something, and so they do here too, right? So the Mishnah teaches with regard to a verse, there shall cleave nothing of that which was devoted to your hand, Deuteronomy. As long as the wicked exist in the world, there is wrath in the world, right? When there's wicked in the world, there's anger and bad stuff in the world. Who are these wicked people mentioned in the Mishnah? And Rabbi Yosef says they're thieves. When there are thieves in the world, there's wrath in the world. People stealing people's stuff, I guess. The sages then taught in a Braita. when a wicked person comes into the world, wrath comes into the world. It's stated when the wicked comes into the world, contempt also comes, and with ignominy, reproach, right? So bad stuff. Wicked come in, bad stuff comes in. When a wicked person is eliminated from the world, good comes into the world. As it's stated, when the wicked perish, there's jubilation, right? So when the wicked are here, they bring in bad. When the wicked leave, then good comes in because their badness is gone. When a righteous person passes from the world, then evil comes into the world. As it says, the righteous perishes and no man lays it to heart. Merciful men are taken, none understand that. Due to the evil, the righteous is taken, right? So the righteous is taken, evil remains. And when a righteous person comes into the world, good comes into the world with them. As it's stated with regard to Noah, this is one who shall comfort us for our work and the toil of our hands, right? So basically, if you want to boil it down, if there's a good person coming into the world, goodness comes with them. If a bad person comes into the world, badness comes with them. If a good person leaves the world, goodness leaves with them. If a bad person leaves the world, badness leaves with them. Okay, that makes sense. It's not so confusing. And then finally, I'll just summarize a teensy bit, and then we'll say the siyum blessing, etc. Well, we can talk for half a second, then we'll say the siyum blessing. But I would say this section is kind of funny. You might say, this is a really weird section. If you want to know more about it, I would read Book of Kings, chapter 16, 17, 18. You'll see the incidents with Elijah running away from Ahab and Jezebel, their not great relationship, the way that the story of the child who dies and is brought back to life exists, the way that the rain exists, doesn't exist, does exist, etc. The rabbis are kind of seeing things in the narrative and weaving together sensible, or maybe not so sensible, but interesting ways to understand the story that end up with Elijah, really, among other characters. Elijah gets really fleshed out here as somebody who probably means well, but is very zealous for God to the point where people sometimes take the hit, right? He takes the rain away. He's maybe not thinking about others so much. How will it look if God looks less powerful than Elijah? He's not really thinking about those things. Even when he goes before Rabbi Yossi, his feelings get hurt and he doesn't want to show up again, right? Like on the one hand, he's great, but on the other hand, the sages seem to have some criticisms of who he was or is, maybe. Also, just theologically interesting that God controls the things that we don't in some way. These three keys, why they pick these three keys and not other things. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting stuff. And then finally, of course, wickedness and goodness in the world, which I feel like has been somewhat the main theme of Sanhedrin since the very beginning, is just what do you do? Like, there's going to be, they don't say if, they say when, right? When something bad happens in the world, what do we do? And what does it bring in? And what is the problem? What is the consequence? And all of these things, basically, knowing that there's going to be wickedness in the world and goodness, how do you mediate between those opposites? And how do you make sure the world is more good than wicked? And how do you adjudicate in such a way that it's fair and not, I don't know, like you try to make it transparent and clear and try to multiply the goodness, etc. I think at the end of the day, one of the best things about Masechet Sanhedrin has been just the large focus on morality. When you're dealing with people, we want to know, how do you make sure that people try to stay moral? And when they don't, how do you make sure that we're moving that toward, I don't know, a more moral compass, etc. So that's sort of what I see there. I'd love to hear any thoughts, and then we will hadran Allah and then read the siyum blessing. But any thoughts or comments or anything? I have people in here. I have people on the screen. I see a wiggling hand. Dr. Ozer.
I'm just thinking that it's telling us that no matter who you are, even the great Elijah, you have to mind for possible. I mean, you use the word zealousness, but it could be hubris and whatever. Wickedness can appear in different ways, or evil, and you have to watch for that evil inclination and realize who's in control, sort of, and be humble and limit yourself, and try to bring good into the world.
Good. Yeah.
I'm wondering about, from the other night, Rav Ashi letting the people in the idolatrous town chop down chop down the forest that he owned. Maybe he was trying to get out of the work of chopping it down for them.
Maybe. I thought he was just selling it to them, but yeah.
Yeah, right. That's true. Anyway.
Yeah, anybody else? Anything? No pressure. Yeah, wait, Joel and then Cameron, I think. Yeah, Joel.
I just find it interesting that God would give up a power of rain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is Elijah now godly?
Mm. Right, and I think that's part of Joel said, I don't know if y'all heard him, but yeah, he found it interesting that God would give up the power of rain. Like, is Elijah now godly? And I think that's part of the issue when he wants the second key. I think that's the tension. The Gemara is saying, like, whoa, man, like, Elijah, you're pretty special, and we'll let you be more godly, but nobody gets that many keys. Like, there's still a difference between the teacher and the student. I mean, we saw it twice in here, right? There was God and Elijah, but also there's Moses and Joshua, right? Like, the teacher, the student, like, you can't flip the roles. There's a certain way that the world needs to be, etc., and don't mess with that. Yeah, I think it's part of what they're pointing to is how problematic it could be. Yeah, definitely. Cameron, you raised your hand?
Yeah, I was curious what does it mean with this key of the woman in childbirth? Is there more information about that somewhere else or commentaries on this Talmud section, perhaps?
Yeah. I'm happy to send you later the sources. There's another, definitely in the Gemara, they talk more about the 3 keys and sort of the proofs for them, etc. Yeah, I'll look. I forget. It's somewhere else. You could also look it up. If you go to Safari and put in the key of resurrection or childbirth or something, you'll probably find other sections. But I'll try to find it and send it to you today. I'll look. I forget. I don't want to start quoting it because I'll probably misquote. So I'll just try to find it. But yeah, definitely. Anybody else? Yeah, Bob.
So I thought that this text was really hard to kind of put together. And just as we were talking, I started thinking of all people about Norman Mailer, because at the end of a book that he wrote called The Armies of the Night, he talks about, and a key unlocks something. He talks about that there was a notion about America, and The Armies of the Night is about him going to protest at the Pentagon and getting arrested. And he's kind of summing up his experience in opposing the war at that time. And he says America was built on this notion that the will of the people is holy. And that if you can find the key to that holiness, then the will of the people is the will of God, and it can unlock goodness in the land. But if you don't find the key, then the will of the people can turn, and it can turn to evil. And then the will of the people becomes the will of the devil. So, I mean, Mailer was kind of a moralist. He was looking for goodness in the land, and at a time when it was hard to find it because it was engaged in this war. But somehow or another, struggling to try to put this text together, that's what I came up with.
Thank you for that. Yeah. Bruce.
This is all confusing for me. This is
confusing for you.
It's, to me, these keys, it's like a parent. God is the parent. And he gives the key to a child, like a car. Like your daddy gave you a key to drive your car.
Yeah.
You didn't drive that car very well. And he took the key away from you. It's the same principle. I mean, God controls everything, no matter who's got a key, they're all God's keys. So God can take and give. And that's the way I get out of this.
That's nice. I mean, and to go off of that somewhat, I think Sanhedrin, God is giving us the opportunity to try to adjudicate law. It's an opportunity. It's giving you the keys to the car, but with the reminder that ultimately the keys belong to God, and God ultimately will judge your soul. And if we do a bad job of judging here, ultimately there's a price to pay at some point, right? God's not going to put up with that. Yeah, that's nice. I like that. Yeah, and I would say, just for all y'all, like, this is not an easy text, and the reason why I brought it, not because it's difficult, it is interesting, but I brought it because it's the end of the section. Something to keep in mind that I'm sure we have through the whole thing is some of this stuff seems very relevant to our lives, and some of it doesn't seem relevant at all, and some seems hard to understand, and some is very easy, and some you say, why would this have ever been saved in the tradition? And right, like, one of the best things about Talmud is that it's just a mass of stuff. It's a lot of conversations after morning minyan during breakfast where people are sitting around and they're saying like I have a question, I have a thought, whatever, right? And some of those thoughts are brilliant, especially here. The thoughts are usually brilliant. Every once in a while you get a clunker, or somebody hasn't really thought it out right, or they actually got it wrong. And imagine we save the transcript, so Rabbi Ben says the wrong thing and we save it anyways and whatever. I mean, obviously it's more complicated than that, especially if you believe it's divine literature. But I would leave open the possibility that there's a lot of different purposes and things going on here, and so sometimes we're going to resonate with certain parts, and certain parts we're not, and that's okay, right? We like to study it all and see which parts we like, and I'll tell you the next time you go through it, and I would encourage you doing so at some point, some of the stuff, it'll look different. It looks different every time I look at Gemara or Talmud or anything, because the ideas are deep and wonderful, and you change, and so the text also seems to change. So that's what I would say about that. Yeah, oh, Kevin, yeah.
So at your party on Sunday, is there going to be a montage of all the clunker thoughts from the last year?
There probably will not. I mean, I don't know. It's possible. Maybe that's how everybody will remember me, is all the dumb things I said.
No, not you, just anyone.
No, I don't think so. I think it will be, we like to, especially at celebrations, we like to take the very best of the happened and sort of elevate that and pretend like nothing bad ever happened, because that's helpful, I think, memories. So that will probably be what happens. We'll elevate. Yes, Bob.
I have just a question. Why was Jericho so cursed?
Yeah, well, I mean, they do, right? So Joshua is the one who, the walls come tumbling down, right? They have quite a time getting into the city. It might have something to do with that. I can't say for sure. I would go back. This is one of those moments when I would say go back to the Tanakh, find the section where Joshua curses it. I think because the verse is even here. Yeah, if you go back to Joshua chapter 6 and 5, you'll probably find whatever reason it is that they curse it. But I'm not sure. I think because he destroys it completely. The idea is if you try to rebuild it, there's a problem there. Maybe it's about getting rid of the old Canaanite ways. I couldn't say for sure without looking, but I would take a look at Joshua 6 if you're curious. Yeah. Cool. All right, guys, you ready to do a siyum? We're going to do the blessing. I'm not sure exactly how the virtual people will do it. I have blessings for everybody here. Yeah, I don't know. Y'all can mumble along, or you can just say amen at the end of when I do it. We're just doing the one side. It's a little, well, the Hebrew's not the easiest, but that's okay. We're willing to try. I'll lead us, and you can try to stay with me, and I'm sorry if I go too fast. I'll try not to go too fast. In the blanks, we will be inserting the word Sanhedrin, because that's what we have finished here today. We'll do the Hebrew, which will, whatever, you can try to stay with me, and then we'll do the English ones. The way it works, by the way, if you see the very top paragraph that says, we will return to you, etc., and then it ends with the world to come recited 3 times, we actually do that paragraph 3 times in a row. In the Hebrew and in the English, that first paragraph 3 times, everything else is just once. And then we can do a l'chaim, we can drink a little, I don't know what this is, that looks like whiskey. So that's the way to start your morning at Agudas Achim today. So we'll do the Hebrew. Again, I'm just going to kind of go. It's going to be Masechet, not Seder, okay? So it's Masechet. A Seder is like a set of Mishnahs. Masechet is a Gemara, usually. So, okay, here we go. Starting at Hadran Alav. Hadran alach Masechet Sanhedrin v'hadrach alan. Da'atan alach Masechet Sanhedrin v'da'atach alan. La nitneshe minach Masechet Sanhedrin v'la titneshi minan. La be'alma hadain v'la be'alma da'ate. And we do it again. Hadran alach Masechet Sanhedrin v'hadrach alan. Da'atan alach Masechet Sanhedrin v'da'atach alan. La nitneshe minach Masechet Sanhedrin v'la titneshi minan. La be'alma hadain v'la be'alma da'ate. And the third time. Hadran alach Masechet Sanhedrin v'hadrach alan. Da'atan alach Masechet Sanhedrin v'da'atach alan. La nitneshe minach Masechet Sanhedrin v'la titneshi minan. La be'alma hadain v'la be'alma da'ate. Yehi ratzon milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu v'Elokei Avotenu shetehei Toratecha u'manutenu ba'olam hazeh u'tehei imanu la'olam haba. Chanina bar Papa, Rami bar Papa, Nachman bar Papa, Achai bar Papa, Abba Mari bar Papa, Rafram bar Papa, Rachish bar Papa, Surcha bar Papa, Ada bar Papa, Daru bar Papa. Ha'arebna Adonai Eloheinu et divrei Toratecha b'finu u'b'fifiot amcha beit Yisrael. V'niyeh anachnu v'tze'etzaenu v'tze'etzae amcha beit Yisrael. Kulanu yodei shemecha v'lomdei Toratecha lishma. Me'oivai tachechak meini mitzvotecha ki le'olam hi li. Yehi libi tamim v'chukecha leman lo evosh. Le'olam lo eshkach pikudecha ki vam chitani. Baruch ata Adonai lamdeni chukecha. Amen, amen, amen. Selah va'ed. Modim anachnu lefanecha, Adonai Eloheinu v'Elokei Avotenu, she'samta chalkenu miyoshvei Beit HaMidrash, v'lo samta chalkenu miyoshvei Koranot. She'anu mashkimim v'hem mashkimim. Anu mashkimim l'divrei Torah, v'hem mashkimim l'dvarim b'teilim. Anu amelim v'hem amelim. Anu amelim v'mekablim schar, v'hem amelim v'einam mekablim schar. Anu ratzim v'hem ratzim. Anu ratzim l'chayei ha'olam haba, v'hem ratzim liv'er shachat. Shne'amar ve'ata Elohim toridem liv'er shachat, anshe damim u'mirma lo yechetzu yemeihem v'ani eftach bach. Yehi ratzon milfanecha Adonai Elohei, kashem azartani l'sayem masechet Sanhedrin, ken ta'azreni lahatzliel masechtot u'sfarim acherim u'saymam. Lilmod ulelamed lishmor vela'asot ulkayem et kol divrei Talmud Toratecha be'ava. Uzichut kol hatanaim ve'amoraim ve'talmidei hachamim ya'amod li uzari shelo tamush haTorah mipi umipi zari ve'zera zari ad olam ve'yitkayem bi. V'hit halechecha tanche otach v'shochvecha tishmor alecha v'hakitzota hi tisichecha. Ki vi yirbu yamecha v'yosifu lecha shenot chayim orech yamim b'yamina b'smola osher v'chavod Adonai oz le'amo yiten Adonai yavarech et amo v'shalom. All right, so that was the Hebrew, and now we'll do the English. You're welcome to read with me. It will be easier probably. Okay, here we go. 3 times the first paragraph. We will return to you, Masechet Sanhedrin, and you will return to us. Our thoughts are about you, Masechet Sanhedrin, and your thoughts are about us. We will not forget you, Masechet Sanhedrin, and you will not forget us, not in this world and not in the world to come. Again, we will return to you, Masechet Sanhedrin, and you will return to us. Our thoughts are about you, Masechet Sanhedrin, and your thoughts are about us. We will not forget you, Masechet Sanhedrin, and you will not forget us, not in this world and not in the world to come. Last time. We will return to you, Masechet Sanhedrin, and you will return to us. Our thoughts are about you, Masechet Sanhedrin, and your thoughts are about us. We will not forget you, Masechet Sanhedrin, and you will not forget us, not in this world and not in the world to come. May it be your will, God, our God, and God of our ancestors, that your Torah be our occupation in this world, and will remain with us in the world to come. Chanina bar Papa, Rami bar Papa, Nachman bar Papa, Achdai bar Papa, Abba Mari bar Papa, Rafram bar Papa, Rachish bar Papa, Sorchav bar Papa, Ada bar Papa, Daru bar Papa. May the words of Torah, Lord our God, be sweet in our mouths and in the mouths of all your people, so that we, our children, and all the children of the house of Israel may come to love you and want to study your Torah on its own merit. Though through your commandments I am wiser than my enemies, for they are ever with me. May my heart be filled with your laws in order that I not despair. May I never forget your laws, for by them I am kept alive. Blessed are you, God, who teaches me your laws. Amen, 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 Selah forever. We are thankful before you, God, our God, and God of our ancestors, that you have made our portion from among those who sit in the house of study, and you have not made our portion from among those who sit idle. For we wake early and they wake early. We wake early for words of Torah, and they wake early for idle words. We strive and they strive. We strive and receive reward, and they strive and do not receive reward. We race and they race. We race towards the afterworld, and they race towards destruction. As it says, and you, God, will bring them down to destruction. Men of blood and deceit will not live out half their lives, and I will trust you. May it be your will, God, my God, that as you have helped us finish Masechet Sanhedrin, thus will you help us begin other Masechtot and books and finish them. To learn and to teach, to protect and fulfill all the words of your Torah with love. May the merit of all the Tanaim and Amoraim and scholars stand with me and for my progeny, so that the Torah does not leave my mouth and the mouths of my descendants forever. And may it be filled through me. When you walk, it will guide you. When you lie down, it will protect you. And when you wake, it will converse with you. For in me, Torah, your days will increase, and years of life will be added for you. Length of days is in her right hand, and in her left wealth and honor. God will give strength. God will bless God's nation with peace. All right. Well, first off, before we have a little time, I just want to say what an honor and a pleasure it's been to be on this journey with y'all, to be learning Talmud. I'm proud of all y'all, however much you learned with us and did this. You really accomplished something by studying Gemara. This is it's an increasingly common thing, I guess, but not that common to learn rabbinic literature, and especially for so many of y'all who, no offense, but you're not rabbis, you could be doing so many other things, sitting on street corners, right? Your favorite thing to do? Right, exactly. But instead, you're in here learning. It's really to your merit, all y'all's merit, that you took the time to take this upon yourselves, to think thoughtfully about our tradition. As I'm sure you know, I'm in love with the rabbinic tradition, and you too hopefully have gotten a taste of just how wonderful and sweet it can be. And one of the things that's really kept Judaism alive for thousands of years is the ingenuity of this tradition, and one of the best things about it is our rabbinic literature and our Talmud. So kol hakavod to all y'all. I'm very proud. I thought we could do a l'chaim. So if you have alcohol or something, you can also eat something. We have alcohol if you want, or you can symbolically, up to y'all. I'm definitely going to pour myself a little if anybody wants some. I don't know. Do y'all want some? Great. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Anybody not want some? No pressure. A little bit. Here, what we'll do is I'll pour and then is that a good amount? I don't know. Here, y'all come and get them maybe. I don't know how much people want. I mean, it's an early morning wake up. So Ira wants a full glass. Is that a good amount? Great. Okay, Ira, how much do you want?
The whole thing.
The whole thing. Here, you pour for yourself, Ira. I don't know how much you want.
He wants the whole thing.
I don't want to get crazy. Okay. And once Ira has it, we'll do a l'chaim. If you have a little something or whatever, you can also just say the blessing with us. Ready, Ira? Okay, ready? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol niyeh bidvaro. Chaim. So many more Masechtot learned,
And
also glasses of whiskey consumed in celebration of those. Thank you guys again. If you ever need any of the sheets or anything, just let me know. I've compiled them. They're in documents. It's very easy to attach them somewhere. Whew, boy, that is, whew, okay.
What brand is that?
I don't know, but it's definitely hot enough. So, well, thanks again, guys. We appreciate it. We hope you have a great day. We hope that, I don't know what else to say. Tomorrow, by the way, if you're joining us, it's Rosh Chodesh. The service will be longer. Just so you know, there will be Hallel, Musaf, etc. It'll be my last time leading us virtually, besides on Shabbat. So not that you need to come or feel pressured, just